provide for his entire family. Hell, it seemed he employed half of them. But 5 years into what seemed like movie after movie where his culture had no bearing, where his roots were some muddled, inconsequential footnote, he yearned to take on a project that would show a different side to him. He had a couple of co-stars from Squadron, Tanusha, a Malaysian actress who was his love interest in the movies, and Kwa, a Ghanaian actor who was his friend off and on screen, who had warned Gael about that, to not let himself get pigeonholed as the hot ethnic guy in all his projects. Kwa already had indie projects lined up before filming for the next Squadron, and Tanusha was directing a documentary about the effects of climate change in her country. Meanwhile, Gael was reading scripts for more movies that only required him to flex his muscles and look pretty. He tossed the script on the table and took a swig of his own glass of champagne. "I'm not interested in this, Manolo." "Did you even read what the starting offer is? It's more than what you're making with the Space Squadron movies, and you would have the leading role and an executive producer credit. That's a great opportunity." "I've never heard of this production company, anyone in this writer's room, or the director. Looks like it's a bunch of frat bros trying to make a buck off the popularity of the Marvel franchises." That came from Gabby, who for the past 3 years had been working as Gael's publicist. It was a bit of Latinx cliché to have his family working for him, but his sister was excellent at what she did, and had a keen eye for what was a good use of his time and what wasn't. "Gabby, I appreciate your opinion, but I've been doing this a bit longer than you have. I've been with your brother from the time that no one gave him an audition." Gael scowled at Manolo's harsh tone. He loved his uncle, and he was grateful for the support he'd given him over the years. It was true that he'd helped him get to where he was, that he'd been there every step of the way. But sometimes Manolo acted like Gael's abilities and talents were incidental. Like it hadn't been Gael busting his ass working 2 jobs while going to drama school. Or it wasn't Gael who ran from audition to audition from the time he was 18 until he finally caught a break that last year of college. And he didn't owe that break to Manolo. That had been because of, well, that wasn't anything Gael would be rehashing, not if he wanted to show up at his mother's in a better frame of mind. None of it mattered anymore. What did matter was Manolo's high-handedness. Gael turned to his sister, ignoring the glare she and Manolo were directing at each other, and pointed to the stack of screenplays he was supposed to look over. "What project do you think I should do next?" "Nothing in that pile," Gabby replied, clearly ready for the question. "Gael, you're in a good place in your career, money and work-wise. You can afford to take on a passion project, bro." That earned her a sneer from Manolo, which Gabby completely ignored. She was in more casual attire today, her usual designer power suits replaced by Gucci sneakers and a tracksuit. A Prada tracksuit, but nonetheless, it was dressing down for her. They may have been twins, but Gabby took more after their mother. She was short and very curvy, while Gael was tall and brawny. He'd inherited his father's bronzed skin and green eyes, as well as his height. Gael was well over 6 feet tall and made sure he stayed in Hollywood heartthrob shape. It was part of his job to look the part, after all. Like his mother said, if the acting gig hadn't worked out, he could have been right at home in an NFL defensive line. What Gabby lacked in stature, she made up by being a total hard-ass, and his sister was rarely wrong when it came to the moves that would push his career in the right direction. Whether Manolo liked it or not, Gabby had an instinct for this stuff. In the family, they'd always joked that Gabby had been born clutching her planner and with her iPhone to her ear. His sister worked hard and kept her finger on the pulse of what was happening in the industry. Manolo was more focused on the money side, on what kept the family financially secure. They both loved their jobs, and frankly, their jobs depended on Gael staying employed. That meant that when it came down to it, he always made the choice that guaranteed him, and all of them, security. That particular approach had cost him dearly through the years.